This is how Midori and Sergio finished their shift, racing down a highway on the outskirts of Mexico City, trying to find a hospital for a COVID patient. And this is how they began it, on patrol in their district, Nezahualcóyotl. It's one of the capital's most packed and COVID-hit suburbs. Their first case is Bences, a policeman who they've worked with before. He has trouble breathing. He's well enough to stay home for now, but in Mexico the case count keeps growing, despite the government's assurance it would peak 3 weeks ago. Health services are still coping, but the team are at full stretch.
In 20 years of working as a paramedic, I've never seen anything like this. I thought the worst I'd see was the earthquake in 2017, but this is worse.
The calls come in quick and fast. This is just one of 3 ambulances dedicated to picking up patients with COVID in a district of more than 1 million people, so as you can guess, they're almost constantly on the move. On top of that, the team's dealing with their usual cases too. He's been hit by a car. As a crowd watches and others go about their business, it's clear that life in Nezahualcóyotl has barely paused for the pandemic. Despite a nationwide quarantine, like many other areas in Mexico, they simply can't afford to stay home.
Most of the people we treat are workmen or vendors. They have to go out to provide for their families.
Midori and Sergio are fighting their own battle too. Mexico's become notorious for attacks on frontline medical staff. Many people fear they're virus carriers or criticize their care. Midori and Sergio have had to hide from a threatening crowd inside a hospital. How does it feel when you're going to help people, when you're risking infection yourself, and you get that reaction from them?
Muy triste y decepcionada.
I just don't have words for it. I come wanting to work. I risk my own family. I risk that I get infected. People can be really selfish.
Sergio's struggling with something else on top of that. It all came back to him on a recent transfer.
He was elderly, and it reminded me of my grandfather, because he died of COVID too. I was looking at this man's last moments of life, and I saw my granddad reflected there.
He passed away just 3 weeks ago. Sergio was treating him throughout his illness. He's working now while he mourns, and it's time for the last call of the day. The patient is Jose Luis, a DHL delivery man, only 39 years old.
Necesitas atención médica. Necesitas ir a un hospital.
No quiero morir.
No te vas a morir. Solo es para que te atiendan. Ahorita estás a tiempo. Y puede pasar cualquier cosa.
He agrees reluctantly. Families have refused to let Midori and Sergio take their relatives to hospital before. Finally, his wife comes in to say goodbye, aware that he might not come back. Meanwhile, the team bring in the gear they hope will protect them, together with the capsule for Jose Luis. It's a tight fit. And it gets very hot inside it. Patients can get anxious, claustrophobic too.
¿Tienes una niñita? No. ¿Dos niños? Ok, por ellos, ¿va? Ahorita te lo voy a desconectar.
But it could be a long ride for Jose Luis. The ambulance is just racing out to the hospital of Texcoco, and they're hoping that there's room there for Jose Luis. But if there's not, we don't know yet, then they'll just have to take him to another hospital until they find one that does have space.
Ya llegamos, ¿vale?
It's time to get out and see if they'll let him in. The answer is yes. So this time around, success then?
Yes, things went very well for us.
The transfer was quick, just a bit more than 40 minutes.
For them, it's a triumphant end to a hard shift. But for Jose Luis's family, it's just the start. They'll join those waiting outside of Texcoco Hospital. Some have been here for hours, others days, all hoping to see their relatives come back out that door. John Holman, Al Jazeera, Nezahualcóyotl.